This illustration deals with means of identifying the grounded conductor. 200.6A1 through A6 addresses the grounded conductor. Purpose of change, a revision has been made to clarify that the terminations marking requirements are similar to other applications where the grounded conductor might be involved. First, I would like to look at the conduit coming out of the box that has the title head circuits 480 volt, 277 volts, 208, 120 volts, and 220.5B addresses this where you have 600 volts or 1,000 volts or less in the same conduit system. Secondly, the raceway with the grounded conductor. That's the right below the head I just talked about. So raceway with grounded conductors, two circuits are 208 volt 120, white or gray insulation, or white or gray with a colored stripe other than green per 200.6A or B of the NEC. Thirdly, let's look at the raceway right next to the weatherhead. Raceways with grounded conductor. Two circuits are 480, 277 volt, white or gray insulated neutral, or gray with a colored stripe other than green for 200.6 A and B. Fourthly, I'd like to look at the title head and information next to the one I just discussed, and identification in the first bullet says each systems. Grounded conductors can be identified by white or gray taping, tagging, spray paint, taping, and so forth. Now, fifthly, or five, let's look at the panel board at the service equipment, and it's the illustration down toward the bottom of the panel board. And notice grounded 2 amp conductor means of identification shall be posted at each panel board, 210.5A through C. So we could have 20 amp breakers in there on up, to different sizes. But this recognizes how we'd identify the grounded conductor that we're talking about here. So the review now of the note says review carefully. NEC 300.C1. Now that's where we can mix 1,000 volt or less conductors in the same raceway, junction box, etc. 310.6 now deals with references to say 200.6 for the grounded conductor, 250.119 for the equipment ground, 210.12C for the grounded conductor, or 210.5B. 215.12C deals with the feeder conductors and how you would identify the ungrounded conductors. So just kind of looking at, you want to review very careful 310.6, A, B, and C. A deals with the grounded conductor, B deals with the equipment grounded conductor, and C to 310.6 deals with the ungrounded conductors. And I believe that's 210.5C and 215.12C, depending on branch circuit or feeder circuit. 310.10 that you see in the note deals with insulation and where it can be used, like dry, damp, wet, exposed to the sunlight, etc. And 402.8 now deals with fixture wires and so forth. And 690.41 would deal with PV systems where they were rated over 600 volts up to 1,000 volts, et cetera. So the note's important to review those sections. Then that brings us together very clearly how we would be required to identify that grounded conductor based upon 277-480 and 122.08 or 122.40 in the same conduit system or pull box, etc. Now in the illustration itself, you can see that we have 480, 277 at the weatherhead coming down to the panel. Then we have a breaker feeding a transformer, and we size the overcurrent device from table 450.3 on the primary side. On the secondary side, we make a tap, and that tap is 240.21C, 1, 2, or 3, 6. And then notice if it's say an industrial location, then we go to 240.92C for a 100-foot tap. And any length you want, basically, you would look at, I believe it's 240.92E is an ED, and that kind of outlines how we would have to identify that grounded conductor. Now you notice the grounded conductor coming in here, if you had, say, from the transformer to the panel board there with 480, with, say, 208-120, because it's a 480 volt primary. Then 408.36 would list your main here, and the main would protect the bus and so forth. But notice this main is allowed now in a panel board. You have to have a main. You couldn't put just 6 individual mains anymore in that panel board, because that is the main circuit breaker to disconnect those circuit breakers below it. Now, we'll get into more of these regulations as we go along, but it's very important that you review 200.4, B as in boy, 200.6A or B as in boy, and then look at 210.5A through C, and then I believe you've got this whip to where you understand just exactly what is required when you're identifying that grounded conductor.